God. Can you believe it? We're starting the show. Early. A little early. Well, no. A minute late now. Okay. I wanted to start early, but there's John Fugelsang right out of the gate. So we have the whole hour, unless he misbehaves, and then I'm just going to hang up on him. And we have that agreement.
Which tends to happen. Thank you.
So, thank you for joining us. Oh my God, I don't even know where to. I usually, when I have a guest call in, especially of your stature,
Oh, stop.
I try to. I work it out with the audience. I'm like, okay, it's like a therapy session for me. They're like, you can do it. Don't worry, you got
By
this.
by by stature, you mean that I'm 6'2", right? Because you can't tell that on
True.
camera. But
Well,
thank
I'm
you for
six
having
feet.
someone of.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah,
really? You're six
yeah,
feet?
yeah.
Oh, well then, whenever I meet a woman of your stature, I'm humbled just to be in the room.
Right.
So thank
It's
you
a
very
little
much.
bizarre, right? I mean, we have
It's
a
a
lot in
little
common.
refreshing, is what it is.
Right. Well, it's true. I mean, I was trained to kill too by the United States government, which something that might come in handy at this time too. I mean,
It's
because I
something
was
else we have in common. Yes.
right, right. But yeah, because your mother was a nun, and so was
Yes.
mine, which is weird. I don't know if that was it's not weird. I mean, I think at that
It is,
time,
it is it is rare. It is
yeah,
rare.
yeah. I mean, my
It's
father was a.
rare. It's rare to be a nun. It's more rare to quit being a nun and have kids.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
pretty rare. When I met Julie Andrews the first time, and I told her my mother's story, she said to me that she had never heard of someone whose mother had left the convent and had children in real life. And I'm like, "What?
Wow.
You're Maria von Trapp. You must have that told to you every time you leave the house by everybody like me." But come on, Tara. How many people have you met whose mom was a nun before they married?
No, I mean, no, you're right. I think, no, as I'm searching my member banks, only you. So, yeah,
Yeah. Well, look at
yeah.
us.
It's so funny. But you had a more, interesting story. My father was a garbage man. Your father was a brother. So they were both in the orders. And which I love, my father, the brother, met my mother, the sister. And I
Yes.
mean, that's a really beautiful love story. And the fact that
Thank you.
they must be so proud of you. I know,
Well,
from
my
the
parent,
astral plane.
yeah, they're no longer with us, but it's funny you say that because I spent 13 years pitching the book Separation of Church and Hate in various proposals with multiple agents, and the
Oh,
last
wow.
literary agent I had before my agents now actually came to me after I submitted a proposal, and she said she liked it, and a week later said, "You know what? This book's just not the right time right now. A book about for
Uh,
atheists and believers together." She said, "Can't you just write your parents' love story? That's the book we want to read. Can you write something that I'll
oh,
cry in the
wow.
end?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can write that, but I don't want to write literature. I want to write a book about how
Right.
these revoltingly fake Christians don't fight for anything Jesus talks about. They fight for conservative Christian power." And she didn't get it. And again, my book was turned down so many times over 13 years
Amazing.
by publishers and agents. So to make the New York Times bestseller list for several weeks was very rich. And it's another reminder to everybody: if you have some project in you that you know you have to do, please don't wait for the right time.
Right.
Just get it done. It has to get out of you so you can move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess the Times caught up to your proposal, really. I think this is the perfect time. I wish, I mean, on some level, we've gone really far, of course, into the fake Christian fascist coup. So maybe,
Well,
I mean, maybe 5 years earlier would have been a good time
uh,
to publish it, but
I,
it is what
I,
it
I
is.
would I would argue we've had it worse. I mean,
Yeah.
people say how can these Christians defend ICE? And I'm like, Christians defended the Klan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Christians propped up slavery. We're the only country on the planet
That's right.
where our history of Christianity is completely entwined with a history of white supremacy.
Right.
Christians signed off on segregation. Christians signed off on second class treatment of women in this country. And every step of the way, it's been the actual Jesus followers
Yep.
who have stood up in resistance along with their non-Christian allies. That's the whole story of
Hmm.
religion in this country. It's always taken the liberal, moderate Christians and their non-Christian allies to beat
Yep.
back the batshit Christians.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, because that's the truth. We have let, see, I was raised Catholic. You were raised Catholic as well, right? Catholic.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. My aunt was asking me actually, what do you think about J.D. Vance converting to Catholicism? I don't really follow Catholicism anymore. I was raised, and just
Neither
like
does
you
J.D.
say,
Vance. Neither
yeah,
does J.D. Vance. So it's
exactly.
okay.
Exactly. Just like you say in your book, there were, and that's kind of, I really liked Jesus as when I was a kid. I went through a very religious stage. A lot of kids do. Then I was, being gay and growing up and listening to the priest condemn me to hell. Like at first, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh my God, he's talking about me, and
Yeah.
uh, and that at first I was like, if I ever meet these gay people, my God,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I'm
And
gonna
it's
give them what
blasphemy.
for? What?
It's
Yeah,
blasphemy because number one, there is nothing in the entire Bible against women with women. God
right.
never says anything against women with women. Jesus never says anything against. I mean, the Bible and Vivid Video
Yeah,
have the same policy. They have hangups about men with men, but
it's true.
and
Yeah,
also any kind of homophobia is a rejection of Jesus's teachings. I mean,
yeah.
you can't discriminate against gay people and say you believe in the Beatitudes and the Sermon on the Mount.
That's right.
And in Matthew 25, Jesus says, "However you treat the lowest person is how you treat me." So
Hmm.
homophobia is blasphemy. And I was the same as you. I was raised thinking this was a not by my parents, but by my
Yeah,
peer group, that
yeah.
this was an ecclesiastically acceptable bigotry we could have because
Right,
weak fake Christians need to be superior to other groups.
right.
Jesus is all
Yeah.
about humility. Jesus' whole mission is about servant leadership. The last shall be first,
Mm-hmm.
washing your followers' feet. Go to the
Yep.
margins and help the lowest. And how you treat the lowest is how you treat Jesus. So if you're going around saying that you're better than other groups because you believe
Right.
in Jesus, you don't believe in Jesus.
Right. That's why it's
Their
so.
religion, their
Yeah.
religion is pretending they're better than other people. That's
That's
their
it.
religion.
That's
And they
it.
don't fight for the teachings of Christ. They don't fight for anything Jesus says. They vote against the teachings of Christ and call them woke. The only thing
Mm.
these conservative Christians care about, and they've been groomed this way, so I blame the leadership, but
Yeah.
they don't care about Jesus. They don't care about religious freedom. They don't care about the Ten Commandments. They don't care about Satan. They care about conservative Christian control over
Right.
society, government, culture, and education.
Right.
That's what they care about, not the words of the Nazarene, which they reject and legislate against.
Mm-hmm. And they were the ones who crucified him in the first place. If we went back in time, I always say if Jesus came back, they'd crucify him again
Oh, they
because,
would.
oh, absolutely, because he
Or in
was,
this country, they'd ask him for papers and then they'd ship him off to Juarez because he would
mm,
be a brown skinned foreigner who never spoke English. So,
right.
ICE would have a field day with this guy.
Oh, forget it. Really. So that's why it's, when my aunt was like, oh, J.D. Vance converted to Catholicism. I'm
Yeah,
like,
so did Newt Gingrich. So did Newt
exactly.
Gingrich.
It's like,
And
we're going to believe
after
that?
after the, hasn't the Catholic Church had enough creeps? Do we really need creeps
I
joining? I thought
know.
they were getting the creeps out of the church. Now, they're coming and joining now to
Right.
balance off all the priests we kicked out.
So
Uh,
how does he square? This is why I don't understand the whole for him. I mean, what is your opinion? I know it's
You
all
understand it.
transactional.
You
Yeah.
understand it. J.D. Vance believes in nothing except the advancement of J.D. Vance. He called
Right.
Donald Trump America's Hitler.
I
He
know.
called
Yeah.
Donald Trump, and somewhere in hell, Hitler is furious at this guy for comparing him to Trump. But
I
you know
know.
what? Adolf will tell him when he sees him someday. J.D. Vance doesn't give a rat's ass about the teachings of Jesus. I mean, look, immigration alone. The God of the Hebrew Scriptures commands his followers to welcome the stranger and to treat the alien as you treat one of your own.
Yeah.
And God's not ambiguous about this. He goes about 10 times about this, and then his son shows up and says in Matthew 25 that the way individuals and nations welcome the stranger
Hmm.
is how they'll be judged for heaven or hell. Jesus gives his marching orders in the judgment of nations, also known as the parable of the goats and the sheep. Jesus says individuals and nations will be judged, heaven or hell, by between his real followers and his fake followers, by
Mm-hmm.
how they cared for the poor, cared for the sick, welcomed the stranger
Right. It's right there.
and cared for those in prison. Nothing about only if it's legal. The only laws in the
Uh-huh.
entire Bible about immigration or borders are the commandment to welcome the stranger. I'm not saying we should have open borders,
Mm-hmm.
but these people don't care about illegal immigration. If they wanted it to stop, they'd arrest the employers who do all the
That's right.
hiring and take down the help wanted sign. They won't do that. This is racist theater. That's what
Right.
this is. They're not, they
Right.
won't go after the employers. Look, the majority of undocumented immigrants are not border crossers. They're people who overstayed their visas. There's like over
Yep.
20,000 undocumented Irish in this country. Do you see any Irish or
Mm-hmm.
Russians being sent to Alligator Alcatraz?
Nope.
Any?
Well,
No.
they're white. So yeah, I mean, we all know what it's about. That's why he goes after Somalians and
Mm-hmm.
and immigration in general. One of the first things Trump did in the first maladministration was, well, besides everything else that sucked, is they took off the immigration and naturalization on the mission statement of the Immigration and
Yeah,
Naturalization Service. They took off the United States is a nation of immigrants. That's how
of
it
course.
started. It used to start.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
they disappeared it. It's
They're so
disgusting, really.
stupid. Yeah, they're so stupid. And it's like, this isn't going to pay off for them. I mean, this is only going to contract our economy.
Right.
And Donald
That's
Trump
it.
is the only president we've ever had who has hired undocumented immigrants in two different centuries
Yes.
because he didn't want to pay American workers a living
That's
wage. And
all.
apparently,
Yep, that's what it's
but
about.
apparently, the media and the Democratic Party have never been told that fact because they
Yeah.
never bring it up. They
Why is
never
that?
bring it
Why?
up.
I mean, that's the thing too. So many missed opportunities. Like, for example, J.D. Vance speaking. I mean, not whatever his Christianity, whatever he pretends to be.
He's not.
Aside,
He's a revolt.
yeah,
J.D. Vance
he's
is a racist liar who knowingly spread evil lies about
yeah.
innocent
Oh my God,
legal Somali migrants being illegals who are eating pets. And after the
disgusting.
the
Yeah,
the Republican governor said it wasn't true, the Republican mayor said it wasn't, the chief of police said it wasn't true, and the lady who first reported her cat
right.
missing found her cat in the basement. The
Yeah,
Wall Street Journal reported all of this, and Vance still pushed the lie. And he said it's okay if it gets the narrative out there and helps us
that's
get
right.
elected.
That's
So it's
right.
like this guy has. Why should I call him a Christian? Because he says so.
Uh
The way
huh.
he
Right.
degrades his wife's religion. The way
Uh
he
huh. Yep.
degrades his wife's religion. His brown-skinned immigrant kids get to grow up and find out their dad's racist against brown-skinned immigrants.
Yeah.
And when
And
Donald
wonder.
Trump leaves, and
Mm-hmm.
and this pudgy amoral eyeliner model tries to get MAGA to follow him. Can you imagine? JD Vance is going to do an impression of Ron DeSantis doing an impression of Trump, and MAGA's not going to go for it.
It's but I was just watching that one of these other speeches. It wasn't the March for Life speech. It was the one he gave and with all the fireworks. I think it was the one where Erica Kirk was grieving
It sounds
supposedly.
like a Charlie Kirk grief
Yeah,
fest. Yeah,
and it
yeah, for
was
that great
just
Christian.
J.D. Vance, and he comes out and it's like, poof, 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 poof. It's,
Yeah,
I mean, come
yeah,
on, you don't
just
have to try
stupid.
that hard,
They're embarrassing. They're
right? To be
child. They're
cool,
child
right?
people, and they
It's
hate the act. They hate the teachings of Jesus. They grovel to Caesar. They don't follow Jesus. They use him, and that's
yeah,
what Christian
yeah,
nationalists do. They're here to fight for Jesus, not to obey his teachings, not to
right.
listen to him.
And he
Just
warned
fight for him.
us that, and Jesus warned about exactly this: the hypocrites, the ones who pray, and they all pray in the middle of the house floor. He told
Matthew
them,
6:5. He
right?
tells you not to the ones who trust in public to be seen. When Mike Johnson became speaker and they showed that photo of them all kneeling on the floor of the
Yes,
House
disgusting.
to be seen by the camera, I'm like, they could have gone into an office to pray. I got no
That's
problem with
right.
people praying,
That's
but they
right.
didn't. They wanted to be photographed, to
Yep.
use their piety as political propaganda.
Right, and it's abuse. It is, and we're all suffering, I believe, from a PTSD from living during these times. Morally, spiritually, this
Yeah.
is abuse that they inflict on us. That they attack, trans people, for example, and I believe that. I mean, maybe trans people exist, so you could actually be kind to somebody who's different. I mean, show us your Christianity. You never you always tell us about it, but you never show us, really. You always
Yeah.
have to talk about it, right? But we never see it.
I mean, there is nothing in the Bible that says you should be mean to people
Yeah,
who are
who are
having
different.
gender have gender dysphoria. It is Saint Paul, the guy who these right wingers prefer to quote over Jesus, who says in Galatians,
Mm-hmm.
"There's neither male nor female in Christ."
Right,
And,
right,
and look, we know that there's 1,500 species that have same-sex activity. Only
right.
one has religious hangups about it. And likewise, there's species in the animal world that change gender.
Of
I
course,
mean,
yep.
my favorite fish is the slippery dick, which can change its gender and has the coolest name and the coolest
Wow,
superpower. The
that's
slippery
amazing.
dick. Google it,
I
ladies and
have
gentlemen.
to. That's great.
But I
No,
mean,
it's
and
true.
people should
It's
see Conclave as well because that's kind of speaks
yes.
directly to this. There's this great scene in the Bible where the apostles say to Jesus, "Hey, why was this guy born blind? Was this a sin he did or a sin his parents did?"
Wow.
And Jesus is like, "There's no sin in him being born different. Maybe he's born different so the glory of God can be revealed through him,"
There you
which
go.
is sort of the plot of Conclave. But people should
Right.
still watch it.
I mean, that's a great movie, and I think it upset the fake Christians a lot because
Oh
they,
yeah,
of course, they anything that's makes them think, and that's why you'll never hear Republicans challenge their constituents to,
never.
to evolve, not be bigoted,
Never.
not be
Never. Well,
hateful.
no. Evolving is weakness. Evolving is wokeness. No, you're perfect as you are right now, and only a weak person would change and grow with the times.
That's
Look at
right.
who's the only racist Republicans are allowed to hate. Robert Byrd, because
Oh,
he evolved
right.
and
That's so
changed. Robert
true.
Byrd was a
Yes.
Klansman, and then he repented and publicly apologized and
Yep.
devoted the rest of his life to being a liberal and fighting for civil rights. And he opposed the Iraq War, and he voted for Obamacare.
That's
And when he
right.
died, the NAACP honored an ex-Klansman when he
Yep.
died, and that's the one racist that MAGA has
Yes.
been groomed to hate
That's so
because
true. Yeah,
he
I
stopped being
remember. Yeah,
racist.
yeah, because they always. That's one of the things. When I get contacted by them, they'll send me a picture of Hillary, and I'm sure you've seen it a million
Well, there's
times.
Hillary with her mentor, the Klansman. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
100% of living Klansmen have voted Republican for the last 60 years.
Right,
Ho, sit down.
right, exactly. And you're supposed to just be so appalled by the fact that she, took a picture with somebody. But that's besides the point. It's exactly what you're saying. He evolved. He atoned for what he did in his youth, and how many times do you have to make a public statement about it? That yes, I was wrong, and I'm embarrassed at this that I
Yeah.
did this, and I will spend the rest of my life making amends for it, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
So, you
And they think
know,
that's weakness. They think repentance is weakness, and they think changing and growth is weakness. And again,
right,
these people are idiots. They've always existed. That we're and they're always gonna die off as well. I mean, but because this is the whole deal. I mean, churches are getting emptier, and
that's
young
right,
people aren't abandoning religion because of Jesus or God or Santa
that's
Claus or
right.
Noah's
Yep,
Ark. They're
yep,
doing it because of the douchebags. They're doing it
that's
because of the
right.
cruelty, hypocrisy, and intolerance. And you'll see these old churches that are also racist and white nationalist, and we're better than them, and guns, and God wants me to kill we got to vanquish those liberal, blah, blah. And then, you know what, down the block, oh, crap, a more racist church opened. Shit, now we got to be more racist than we were last
Right.
week to compete with that racist church down the street. And these people are living in a bubble. They're idiots. They haven't read the Bible, and they're counting on you
I
not having
know.
read the Bible.
Wow, wow. Yeah, my aunt actually said she was at church on Sunday. Well, she goes on Saturday night, and it was, it's practically empty. And it was in the bulletin that they were going to consolidate churches because there's just no attendance. And it was, they had
Yeah.
the graph about it. But it's true though. If the church did actually promote Jesus, because I think that it would attract more people to want to be a part of it, and instead that's the worst PR is these fake Christian Republican nationalists. That's really doing harm to any
I
kind
agree.
of totally.
Look, I mean, and if churches want to survive, you know what? The actual teachings of Jesus are quite popular among young people. Let's fight injustice. Look
Yeah.
out for the less fortunate. Don't judge people because of their sex lives, and don't judge them because of the mistakes and sins
Mm,
they've made. Stewardship of the earth and take care of the planet in a
right.
responsible way. Looking out for justice for laborers. right?
Right.
Not judging
That's
other
right.
people, not being prejudiced, not putting your group above other groups. These are all core Jesus
Hmm.
principles that are very popular with young people and non douchebags. And the right church is going to pick them up and run with it because
That's
Jesus
right.
and justice go hand in hand.
Right, right. I mean, how do
He's
you
the
deal when you go on these shows and I've seen many of your debates with these fake Christians, I should say, and it's you wipe the floor with them really
Oh, Tara,
because
they none of them would book me for this book. I couldn't get on Fox for one show or OAN or Newsmax. None of them would have. And I'm like, it's a liberal. We're a book about Jesus. Don't you want to tear me apart? But they
right.
haven't read the Bible. They don't give a damn about the Bible. They use the Bible like they use Fox News for peasant maintenance to get
That's
people.
it.
And how did Donald Trump get the Christians to vote for him? Did he promise to do what Jesus said? Did he say, I'm going to work so hard to help the poor, and I'm going to help the sick, and I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
welcome the stranger, and I'm going to be kind to those in prison? No, they hate that woke Jesus crap. Donald Trump played up the persecution narrative and said, oh, Christianity's under siege. When I'm in
Yes.
power, you'll be first. I'll prioritize you. You'll be above everybody else. And
Right.
that is the egotism that shows they are blaspheming Bubba frauds.
It's
They got to
just
be better than somebody. It's always them got to be better than somebody.
right, but how? As far as Democrats, this when we talk, I'm like, yeah, right there with you. It just seems like so many missed opportunities for Democrats. What the hell is wrong with Democrats? Like, why won't they bring it right to these phony asses? You're not, especially about
When you
pro-life.
say missed opportunities, how far are we going back? Are we talking about like letting the Confederates off the hook,
Right,
or letting
that
Nixon off
too.
the hook,
That
letting
hello, you're singing my
The
song.
Iran Contra criminals off the
Yep,
hook?
all
I
of
mean, when
it.
Pelosi and Schumer took over the Congress in 2006 and said impeachment was off the table for Bush and Cheney after
That's
lying
right.
us into the goddamn Iraq war, when I mean, Merrick Garland never thought to hire Jack Smith until we'd had hearings in Congress a year
Yep,
too late. I mean, we always let these
unbelievable.
folks get away with it.
It's
And
true. Yeah.
this this year, Tara, and you've talked about this. I think the Democrats that are going to do the best are going to be the ones who demand accountability, the ones who run on it. I think
Yeah.
the Democrats who say that when we're in power, you assholes go ahead and loot the Treasury, break all the laws you want, because come January 2027, this cabinet is going to be in Congress on camera with their hands on Bibles, and the
Right.
Democrats who promise accountability on these people are going to be the ones who clean up in fundraising.
Yep.
And we know that's what Mr. Schumer cares about the most, and what the leadership cares about the most is
Right.
fundraising. They're going to clean up at it. They're going to clean up with votes. Any Democrat who says we have to work with these people, no, they're murdering Americans in the streets
Oh,
now. These
absolutely.
folks, they
Hmm.
voted for a guy who had cops beaten for a lie, a guy who paid 26 million in education fraud for stealing from Americans with a fraudulent online university, a 34-time convicted felon, and they say immigrants have to
Yep.
respect the rules of
I
our
know.
Constitution? Nah.
Exactly. Why don't the Democrats call him the convicted felon Trump or pick another
Because conservatives set the narrative, and a lot of Democrats are cowards. Not all of them.
it's
You know they're not all
unbelievable.
cowards.
Yeah,
We
no.
see the
I
same. We see the same 8 or 10 on TV or on social
Mhm.
media all the time, calling this
Right.
what it is. The overwhelming majority, it's a pretty good gig. If you can just get there and keep your head down and not become famous and take
That's
that
it.
pension, it's a pretty nice way to live.
Yeah, you have to run I think it's two
Very comfortable.
cycles. Yeah, then you
Yeah.
get pension and health care for life if
And
you're
if Americans ever understood the congressional pension system and how much money we give these people, I mean, they'd be at the gates with pitchforks. If
it's
you're a
disgusting.
75-year-old senator and you dump your wife and you marry a 25-year-old aide, that 25-year-old aide will be getting six figures
Wow.
every year from the taxpayers for decades after you pass on.
Unbelievable. Well, and very believable that they do that. They vote these things for themselves while cutting our lifelines. And the whole thing about cutting lifelines in the United States, of course, I'm sure you know, as I think it's Ruth Ben Ghiat wrote in her book Strongmen, and all these other uh, you know, literary works about fascism and what we're going through now, is part of what the fascist does is they decimate the people, and it really but the Republicans have been doing this for years, where separating the people from the government in a way where we don't expect anything from government. I mean, as far as right wingers are concerned, government's the problem. and you need to drown it in a bathtub and all that.
Yeah.
Right. So we
And
don't.
by the way, and they don't really hate government. They hate democracy. They
Right.
love
Hello.
government. Government is the system they use to reward their donors.
That's it. Yep.
They hate democracy.
And
And that's
that's what
another
the
area.
Democrats should
The
say.
Democrats, believe me, I know these Democrats.
It,
I call the whole party Clark Kent without a phone booth. Like they're just walking around in clown shoes. We're waiting for the cape to show up, and they're just like, I got to change first. Hang on.
right. That's why I mean, the people in the chat now have been around for a long time, like Jim, and that he knows that you're singing my song. If
Oh, I wish
only.
I could see the chat. Oh, there's the chat. Hello, chat. Look,
Oh,
hi.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
even see it.
There you
Well, hello,
go.
hello, everybody.
If you
It's
have
not
any
coming up for
questions
me
for
for some
John,
reason.
oh, it's not. I got to get it so it comes on the screen. I need to
That's all
do
right.
that.
Maybe it'll. That's all right. It'll come up in a second. Well, hello,
Yeah.
everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, you're so nice. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Really. No, I mean,
Thank you for doing the show you do, Tara. You inspire me all the time, and every
oh,
time you
thank
come on
you.
Sirius XM, I always love it.
Thank you so much. Really, it's just, I mean, and I do the show because I believe that one of the problems in our country, that we're in this boat because we don't have the message. I mean, money and politics, that's the root of all this evil. And the fact that we
Yes, it
don't
is.
have the message. We have not reclaimed the narrative. And, as your book, Reclaiming Christianity, and you talk about it too, reclaiming patriotism, reclaiming the pro-life moniker, how they can get away calling themselves pro-life without a laugh track. Whenever a Republican calls himself pro-life, it should be
I know.
immediately accompanied by a
It's
laugh track.
ridiculous. It deserves to be ridiculed. I mean,
Yeah,
they are not the. I mean, hundreds of thousands of children are dying in Africa because USAID
that's
cuts.
right.
Two billionaires are killing the poorest
It's
people on
disgusting.
earth, and I don't hear anything from these fake Christians
Nope.
about it. No,
They should,
and the bo-
if they were
and again,
Christians,
if I
right? Mm-hmm.
right, but here's the deal. Christianity was so identifiable with white supremacy for centuries in this country, and then it changed in the '60s. Martin Luther King used nonviolence and scripture to shame
Right.
white America out of our system of apartheid. And after the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, the conservative movement kind of lost a bit of its mojo. And then
Mm-hmm.
Nixon didn't help when he caught up and burned. So throughout the '70s, like the Falwells and all, they didn't care about abortion. When abortion was decided
Right.
in the Roe decision, Jerry Falwell never mentioned it in a sermon for 5 years. No one cared
Right.
except the Catholics. That was the Catholic thing, abortion. I mean, people figured if God cared about abortion, he would have mentioned it once in the Bible,
That's
had
right.
one of the prophets say, hey, don't end pregnancies. Abortions are legal and free in Israel right now because the Bible doesn't ban them. So it was only after Reagan was elected they realized that this was a vote getting
Yep.
scheme. And suddenly, within a couple years, criminalizing abortion and hating gay people became synonymous with Christianity. So what they did, Tara, they got the followers of Jesus to vote against everything Jesus ever talked about by talking about abortion, which Jesus never talked about.
Mm.
Abortion is the
Mm-hmm.
issue that ate Christianity in America. And these people, he never mentions it. He's against the death penalty, never mentions abortion.
Yep.
So if you support the state murdering sinners because you're so Christian, even though Jesus was against it,
Mm-hmm.
but you want to criminalize women for ending a pregnancy, which Jesus never mentions, why are the rest of us obliged to take their Christian piety seriously?
Right. And it should be
It's
mocked
made up.
and pointed out. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, the Republicans would be doing that to Democrats. They do it anyway. They call Democrats godless. How dare you, really? But
Yeah,
whatever.
I know.
They're just so
Yeah.
disgusting. But the fact is, as you know, I'm sure, since they destroyed Roe, the abortion rate is up in the country because criminalizing abortion does not reduce the abortion rate. What actually
Yeah.
reduces the abortion rate are economic, education, living wages, the
Yeah.
issues that
Yeah.
cause people to go and
That's
say, I
right.
can't afford this pregnancy. So anyone truly pro-life would vote Democratic because
Well,
abortion's,
yes. I
yeah,
mean, and by the way, abortions aren't down, but you know what's up? Infant mortality rates.
right, that
Because
too.
now
Yeah,
in
yeah.
states like Texas, women who normally would go when there was no chance of the baby surviving, they would terminate the pregnancy and start again. Now, women are being forced to bear and give birth to babies that have no chance
I
of
know.
survival
It's just
and go
trauma.
through incredible agony in their incredibly short lives. And women are bleeding out in restrooms of emergency rooms or in their cars.
Disgusting.
And this is completely acceptable to the revoltingly fake Christians. God asserts in Exodus 21 that a fetus is property
Mm.
and that a woman's life has more value in his eye than a man's. God
Hmm.
gives explicit, gruesome abortion tips for unfaithful pregnant wives in Numbers chapter 5. God, if you think he cares about innocent children, Gentiles, check out Passover
Mm.
sometime. They have no biblical case. And the great failing of Democrats in this is that they have let the Republicans frame it around
Yes.
Christianity rather than pushing back and saying, you know what, Jesus doesn't say anything about abortion, but you know what he does say? We have to fight poverty and help the poor, and
That's
forcing
right.
poor women to give birth to children they can't afford to care for. Well, that's
There you go.
the
Yeah.
antithesis of Jesus. But again,
Right.
they don't care about abortion, Tara. You know that, right?
Yeah.
They
No.
don't
No.
care
Not
about
at
it.
all.
They
It's
don't care
it's
about illegal
transactional. Yeah.
immigration. It's
Mm-hmm.
whatever gets us. If they cared about abortion and wanted to, they'd fight for birth control to be
That's
more
right.
available. They'd
That's
have
right.
sex ed in schools. They don't want that. They
Nope.
want abortion to be the issue to get them votes. They don't care about illegal immigration. If they wanted to stop it, they'd lock up the employers who put up the help wanted sign
That's
at our
right.
border.
You're
They don't
absolutely
care.
right.
They
Yep.
want the issue to get power. They don't care about the issue.
That's right. Just like during the campaign when he told the Republicans not to pass the abortion, I mean, not the abortion, the immigration
The
bill.
Immigration Act.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, which was poised to be passed and written by a conservative. And
that's
it was
right.
completely another reason, you just point to them. They don't care. You're right. They have no core values except
They
make the
care
rich
about
richer.
power.
That's it.
Power. No,
It's amazing.
they care about power. That's it. And making the rich richer gets them power.
Right.
And that's this strain of
Yes.
Christianity as well. They don't want to help the dregs.
No,
They want
no.
to know that God likes them better and they want to be in charge. They don't fight
Yeah.
for anything Jesus
Right.
talked about. And I wrote this book, Devlin, because you don't have to believe in Jesus as a literal thing to use his teachings against these frauds.
Right, right. It's true, and it's almost like you have to be armed with these facts to go back at them because I'm of the belief you can't just leave any of their lies in the middle of the floor because they're not educated. They're not following politics like we do. If the
No.
Republicans keep calling themselves pro life, and loving of babies and all this, and we don't answer that, then people believe it. They do believe that. They believe that Republicans are the party of pro-life and low taxes. That I know
Yeah.
these in my own family. Most of my family are normal people, thank God. But there's a few outliers, and my sister, for example, whose birthday is today, but she she doesn't pay attention, and she was married to a Republican, and so she would parrot his bullshit
Yeah,
all the time.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
and we were raised by a garbage man and an ex-nun, solidly working class. My father was a Teamster, and my mother worked for the post office after, and so.
My dad was a teacher. My mom was a nurse. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. My mom was a teacher when she was in the convent, but I know your mom went to Africa. I wonder if
As a
they ever
nurse,
met
yeah.
each other. Small world there.
What was your mother's order?
She was in the Carmelites. So,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
They
What
were
was?
mine was the Daughters of Wisdom, which is a French
Oh,
order, not as
interesting.
sexy as the Carmelites.
All right. Okay. Well, the whole thing, I think I was telling you, we didn't know my mother was a nun until my grandmother died, and we found pictures of my mother as a nun. And we were like,
I
what the hell is
found
this? Halloween?
I f- I was about 7, and I found pictures under my grandma's bed in a shoebox,
Wow.
and that's how I found out. And
Wow.
my parents, when I told them I knew, they made me promise I'd never tell anyone.
Why
Um,
though? I guess at the time maybe the people might look down on it. That they never told
yeah,
us. It was my
I knew they were older than other parents, but yeah, they didn't want people to know. They say it's okay that you know, but we don't need your friends and schoolmates and
right.
people don't need to know that we where we used to be. And I always honored it. And then and then I began going on TV as a comedian and talking about this kind of stuff. And I'll always give credit to Bill Maher because
Hmm.
Bill was the first person in media who ever encouraged me to talk about religion more and booked me on a lot. But every
Oh
time I
wow.
used to do his show, I would always say I can't talk about my parents. His producers all knew about my background, but I'm like, I'm not
Interesting.
allowed to say this, but I can talk about the Bible all day, but I can't say why. And Tara, it wasn't until after I debated Jerry Falwell in my 20s on Bill Maher,
Amazing. Wow.
and after that, my mother gave me permission to talk about her past.
Oh wow. That's great.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad that your mom saw you do that.
I
You
am
know,
too.
that's great. I mean, she must have been so proud to see you. Wipe the floor with
I
Jerry
didn't do.
this
I
fake out.
actually no, I didn't do that well. When
No.
I was very young and I was a very young comedian, and my whole take on Falwell was I'm going to slam dunk this guy. I'm going to just humiliate
Yeah.
him and heckle him and get the audience to whoop at applause lines because he's such an easy villain. And I did that, and he hated me, and I out bullied a bully. And for years, I felt really bad about it because I'm like, oh, you know
Yeah.
what? So I was mean to a mean guy, and what if I had actually on camera engaged him about what Scripture really says?
Hmm.
What if I had done that instead to show what a fraud he was about homophobia, about
Right.
the
Hmm.
Bush family, about abortion while supporting the death penalty? I mean, he was a segregationist. He opened up whites only schools. What if I had just talked about what Jesus
Wow.
says to show he was a fraud instead of winning a rank out contest with him? And
Hmm.
so I
Hmm.
felt bad about it for many years, and it's sort of what motivated me years ago to want to write a book like this.
Huh. Interesting. What is the sequel? I know you're writing a sequel. You're cloistered, or can
Yes,
you
I'm
talk
cloistered.
about it? Or
Sure. A little. My book is about separation of church and hate is about how to talk to your racist uncle about what's actually in the Bible, and my next book is going to be about the people who made your uncle a racist.
oh,
It's not about
nice. I love
people.
it.
It's about power, and it's going to be called Fake Christians.
Nice.
And
I like it.
which I struggled on that title back and forth. I thought it was too inflammatory, but after this weekend in Minneapolis, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gung ho on it, and it's all about people in power. I don't have a right to say that your racist uncle is a fake Christian because who the hell am I, right? I'm in Coyote Ugly. What makes me so good? Like, I mean, we all make mistakes. We all do dumb
That's
things. I got a friend smoke so much weed he paid to see Avatar in 2D. Like we all make bad choices. I'm not good enough to call anyone else another person a fake Christian, but those in power,
yeah.
yes, I
Especially
will.
when
My
they
targets.
use it for
So
political
here,
gain, right? Yeah.
yeah. Well, there's this atheist argument that I really like this in the atheist community saying, no, you can't call these fundamentalists fake Christians because that's real Christianity. Real Christianity
Right.
is
I've heard
slavery,
that
oppression of women,
too.
homophobia. It's a
Yeah.
great argument, and I like I like the debate, but I don't totally agree, and I have this
Right.
ongoing debate with my atheist brothers and sisters because my criteria for this book is going to be people in power, and here it is. If you use, because Jesus is about humility, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you use Jesus's name or his movement, here's my criteria. Part one: if you use Jesus's name or movement to get power, and then once having power, you do the opposite of what Jesus
Hmm.
says. And number three, if actual Christ followers rise up in resistance to you, quoting
Mm-hmm.
Jesus against your policies, then you're a fake Christian. That is the criteria I use to judge the
Right.
Crusades, the Spanish Inquisition, the doctrine of discovery, American slavery, segregation, Hitler, Columbus, and Donald Trump. They're all
Wow.
fake fucking Christians. They
Oh
use
yeah.
Jesus to get power, they do the opposite of what Jesus says, and then actual Christ like resistance opposes
That's
them
right.
time and time
That's
again.
right.
So that's my criteria, and that's what the book's about. It's for everybody who was like so shocked how could the Christians support Donald Trump? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, the Christians supported slavery and burning women at the stake. It's very easy to
Yeah.
manipulate people who don't read the Jesus
That's
parts.
right. That's right. And I think people want to be part of a group. I think a lot of what's going on with
Of course,
yeah, there it's a
very
social
human.
contagion aspect. A lot of they're getting uh, their identity from what
And
their
dignity.
groups. Yeah,
Dignity and
exactly.
self-esteem. Yeah, yeah. I
Mhm.
can,
Mhm.
and I get that. I respect that. I totally respect how the role of community in church and religion. But at the end of the day, spiritually, it's just one-on-one. You and the commander in chief. You're going to walk through that door by yourself at the end of this ride,
Oh
and
yeah.
and
Mhm.
regardless of how much good the community does you, and God bless you for it. There's also groupthink, and people tend to go crazy in congregations.
Hmm.
Look, show me anywhere in recorded history on Earth where extreme conservative religious people were in power and it
Right.
turned out well. Tell
Well,
me where it turned out well. Hitler? I mean,
hello.
where
Yeah.
were extreme conservative Christians in power anywhere in history and it turned out good?
Yeah, I've been saying that too. Show me a conservative, any kind of government that's run, in a conservative fashion, and show me happy people,
Yeah.
healthy,
Yeah.
upwardly mobile, economically vibrant, working class majority. It doesn't exist in history. It really doesn't.
It
And
doesn't.
yeah, the United States is a progressive experiment. And I want to remind everybody that's why the Democrats, I mean, come on. I wish they would listen to me already. And they
I
listen
wish
to
they would
you
listen
more.
to you. They don't listen
Because
to me. I wish they
I've
would
been,
listen to you. I scare them. I scare them.
because I've
But
been
I
saying
honestly,
this for years, take back patriotism. We are the ones carrying the mantle of the revolution. And you could see that when and it is about democracy when that's how we should play it too,
yeah,
where when
yeah.
Republicans say they hate government, what they're saying is they hate
They hate
democracy.
democracy. They
Yeah.
love government. Yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm full of these talking points for this party. And again, I love these Democrats. I've never been a Democrat, but these guys,
Hmm.
as a group, they tend to walk around in clown shoes. And we're in the golden age
It's
of like,
incredible. Yeah.
hailing modest reform, modest
Right.
improvement as sweeping reform. Like, Obamacare,
I
it saved a
know.
lot of lives. It led to the lowest rate of uninsured Americans in our country's history. A lot of good came from it. It helped people out of poverty too, but
But
wasn't
exactly.
it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't healthcare reform. It was health insurance
Yeah.
improvement.
That's it. It's the Republican health care plan. That's what the
It's
Democrats
the
should
it's
say.
Romney
You don't
care,
like
yeah.
it? It's because it's the Republican health care plan. Yeah, it sucks, but it's an improvement. And the other thing, what annoys me about Obamacare is that even now, we wouldn't be dealing with all this bullshit where they're attacking it, trying to repeal it 60 times if we had a public option. But of course,
I know.
that was negotiated away right out of the gate. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
I know. And by
absolutely
the way,
disgusting.
they could have done it. Obama said we can't do a public option because we'd have to use reconciliation, and that would be bad. And then they used reconciliation to pass
Yes,
Romney Care anyway. So
exactly.
you're right. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So, a lot of this, the American people don't understand. This is why
Well, but the American people are tired of BS too, don't you
yeah,
think? Like the
yeah.
Democrat who comes through and talks clear to people, talks clear to working people, and lets them know. And by the way, this is
Mm-hmm.
why anytime Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth
Yep.
Warren are on Fox News, I always watch because they're the best in the business
Yep.
at speaking directly to conservative brothers and sisters and explaining how the system is rigged against working white people.
That's
I mean,
right.
racism, they used racism to break up the unions. None of
Yep.
this is new. This is
Uh-huh.
how the feudal lords keep the peasants and serfs fighting each other so they can be more comfortable,
Right.
around their moat.
Well, that's it.
And
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back
yeah,
to the 1600s where Bacon's Rebellion. I think we talked about this before. The indentured servants, the enslaved, and the poor whites banded together to rebel against the lords, and who, of course, they outnumbered the lords by a lot, as Donald Trump would say. And that's really scared the shit out of the lords. And then that's when they started that's really when they started to make slavery and having to do with your skin color, where you couldn't buy your way out of it. You couldn't, it was a
yeah.
hereditary thing.
Yeah,
And
the
yeah.
slavery that's talked about in the Bible is like in many cases it's an indentured servitude where you would
Mm-hmm.
be enslaved for a few years and then
Yeah.
get your freedom. And again, Jesus is the guy who came to break the chains
Yeah.
and bring freedom to the captives. Jesus does not sign off on. Yes, the Bible doesn't condemn slavery, but slavery is incompatible with Jesus's terms and
Mm-hmm.
conditions. You're
Mm-hmm.
you're exactly right. And yet these Christians were easily talked into thinking that bondage and human slavery was somehow okay with God. And we had it for 300 years and then apartheid
Yes.
for another 100 years because it's so easy to tell these people because when your religion is, putting up a tree in your house once a year and thinking you're better
Right.
than Muslims,
That's it.
it's the narcissism and the pandering and Christianity is not supposed to be easy. Jesus
Mm.
says you have to pick up your cross and follow
That's
me.
right.
He
Wow.
says when he's talking about how I came to bring a sword, he's not talking about a weapon for bloodshed. He's saying, if you choose to follow my narrow way of altruism and empathy and caring for the least of us, if you choose to actually pick up your cross and follow me, it's not going to be easy. You're going to lose people who love you, and it's going to cost you something. That's what it's not supposed to be about. I'm better than other people,
Right.
and I want to be put first.
And it sounds like, I mean, when they put it like that, when you put it like that, it's the exact opposite of everything that ancient socialist hippie was teaching, really. And, you know, that all makes sense to me. It's actually Sandra on the chat asked, I don't know if you've been seeing some of the questions.
They have popped up for me, but I don't see everything.
Okay, so she writes, do you believe in Jesus as a divine or divine being, I guess, or just some of the teachings? Obviously, you know the Bible has errors. What is your overall view of the Bible?
You know, sure, I believe it. Sure, I believe it. What does that? What does it mean?
Yeah.
You know, like so I believe it. The thing is, and I say this in the book, coercing people to believe your religion because of 2,000-year-old supernatural accounts
Yeah.
is not a really valid way to work your ideology into people's hearts. You're not going to be able to get people to convert because you tell them about magic tricks done 2,000 years ago. And don't get me wrong, I think Jesus, the first great Jewish magician. I mean, long before Houdini, long before Amazing Randy, Teller of Penn and Teller, David Copperfield, he's Jewish, right? Even David Blaine is Jewish. A lot of great Jewish magicians. Jesus started the whole thing. But the divinity is great. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to me. These really people want to, but it's because they want to believe in personal salvation, not the Sermon on the Mount. Right. They want to believe that I'm better. So it's all for personal salvation. It's not about helping the less fortunate and going amongst the dregs. That's why they're into it. It's just like with guns. They don't care about patriotism. They don't care about public safety. Individual liberties is more important than the public health because they have been conditioned to equate selfishness with virtue. John Kenneth Galbraith said this in 1967, he said, the modern conservative is engaged in one of mankind's oldest pursuits, the search to make selfishness appear like a virtue.
Yeah, the superior justification for selfishness. Exactly.
You got it better than me. Yeah, that's exactly what they do. That's it. It's all about me. Oh, and also me. And this is how God wants it, so it's okay.
Me, myself,
and
I.
Narcissism. Christianity is about service. It's not about what you get. It's about what you give and do for others. And if you're in a church that preaches superiority over service, I mean, if your church is telling you, right? If your church isn't telling you to love your enemies, but keeps telling you who your enemies are, you're not in a real fucking church.
And that's just abuse too. That's spiritual abuse. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think the miracles, and of course we all know that Jefferson rewrote the Bible, taking out the miracles. And regardless of, I think the divinity of Jesus was written in after the fact, where he was doing spirit. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
it's different. There's different gospels and accounts. And Jefferson didn't write it. He literally cut and pasted, back when that meant something. Cut and pasted a whole bunch of Bibles together, and he published it. I own a Jefferson Bible. Can you imagine a president today admitting they had read a Jefferson Bible with all the divinity and miracles taken out?
That's
but
so
it's like
true.
They want to put all their faith in the magic tricks we can't see, but the actual teachings of Jesus are right here. They cross ideological lines. It's much better to reach people with the meek shall inherit the earth. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Stop executing people. Render unto Caesar. I mean, all of his advice is as threatening to authoritarian power now as it was 2,000 years ago. And that's why they talk about the miracles and they quote everybody in the Bible except Jesus. And so for millions of Christians, their whole Jesus is the manger, the miracles, and the cross. And they don't know dick about the 3 years he spent talking and teaching and explaining what a Christian nation would have to do to actually earn that label.
Right. But it also, I think, disempowers people. You know, if you wait for, to be struck by, as J.D. Vance says, to have his heart moved or the spirit or whatever the hell fake ass way he put it, then it kind of gets you off the hook for participating in your community and doing good things for your community. Then you're just like, I'm waiting to be struck by, the divine whatever, and he can do it for me. Really.
Yeah.
That's what it seems to me. Where
You're right.
Jesus, correct me if I'm wrong, seemed to be like, let's get in there and make a difference in
Yeah.
the people that we encounter, and and beyond, obviously.
Jesus goes into the temple on Holy Monday and is so outraged at how poor worshipers are being exploited. Because when you traveled from around the Holy Land in Judea to go to the temple, you'd have to pay to get the temple currency. You have to give your money and then
Yep.
get the temple currency. And you have to use the temple currency to buy sacrificial animals, like we did with Grandma on the
Yes.
holidays back in the day.
Yes.
So it was like they would have surge pricing. And that doesn't hurt the rich people, it
Right.
hurts the poor people. And that's why Jesus was flipping out. It was essentially over surge pricing,
Wow.
flipping those tables and protesting against authoritarian exploitation in his father's house. And they killed him for it 4 days later. And
Yeah.
so when you see these nonviolent protesters walk into a church
I
where
know.
one of
Right.
these
Right.
unholy ICE executives works and pretends to be a pastor while literally hunting brown people and
Wow.
deporting them in
Yes.
violation of the Old and New Testament. And look, they're trying to crucify those protesters. They're not going after the cops who murdered
Uh-huh.
Americans. They're going after
Wow.
the nonviolent folks who went into a church and didn't break anything and didn't hurt anybody. They just flipped a table like Jesus did.
Right.
Again, these people, they can't, it's always the pattern. You're either aligning with Jesus or aligning with empire.
That's what's so
That's it.
evil about, I believe, about that priest or whatever he is who is working with ICE. How can somebody justify that? To me, it just seems like
When you grow
you're
up in the bubble and no one ever
mm,
asks you, and the Democratic Party is too cowardly to raise these
yeah,
issues about
right.
what the Bible actually says. I mean, if these people were real Christians, they'd be at the goddamn border with blankets and
Yes,
water, welcoming
I
these people and
know.
asking if they're okay.
Isn't that disgusting though? When you think about, I'm sure you've seen when these buses used to go down and like scream at the
Oh yeah, they just
children and migrants, and then there was one. I lived
and
on
they're all
Staten Island.
Christians.
Oh yeah, they're all Christian. They were housing some
No,
migrants in Staten Island, and where I used to live, and they were outside. These assholes were all, I know they're all Christians, of course, and they're outside this. It used to be a school, but they put beds in there for the migrants, and they're out there screaming and chanting, "You're not welcome. You're
yep.
not." Isn't that disgusting? I
It's
can't even.
completely
eh,
disgusting, and they're allowed to do it. They're allowed to
Oh
do it.
God.
They have a First Amendment right to be as cruel as they want. They
Oh.
don't get to pretend they're Christian. And every time you hear one of these frauds refer to these folks at our border as illegals,
Oh.
tell them no. They're
Mm,
Christian refugees.
right.
They're
There you
Christian
go.
refugees. And if they wanted them to stop crossing the border, they would lock up the employers who put up the help wanted sign,
Right.
like I said at the top of the show. I
Absolutely.
mean, that's it, right? They come because white people dangle jobs. So you start locking 1 year in a federal pen. Any person who hires
Yeah.
an undocumented, your nanny, your yard work, your construction crew, 1 year in a federal pen.
That's it.
Well, then the jobs will stop. They'll stop crossing the border, but then they'd have to put Donald Trump in jail, Tara. So
It's
instead,
true.
it's more fun for these people to
Absolutely.
just completely use the New Testament as toilet paper and let masked cowards with guns chase brown kids around
Ugh.
church picnics.
And we saw the hypocrisy of that when he said, "Oh, maybe we're a little too, went too far with the farms. So now you can hire the illegals on your farm." And he pulled them back. This was a few months ago, saying, "Oh yeah, it's okay. We went a little bit. We were a little too strong." A little too tough on the farm workers, so because it just exposes right there the hypocrisy. Why aren't you
Yeah.
going after the people who own the farms then, if that's the case? If you don't want migrants to come and pick your fruit, go after the CEOs, go after the people who own these
But again, it's
businesses.
all about it's and again they don't care. Our economy would collapse. Undocumented immigrants pay 5 billion in taxes,
That's
almost
right.
5 billion every year because they pay state taxes, local taxes, and sales taxes. So
And they get
again,
nothing out of it
and
except
now
being
our
abused.
population is going to be shrinking even more because we need these immigrants because
I know,
45
yep.
years of trickle down economics means young folks can't afford to have 5 babies like in the old days.
That's
I waited
right.
until I was practically in a walker to have my first kid. We're having fewer babies being born, and that is because of Republican policy, because people can't afford to have a lot of babies when they're young now. And so we're going
There
to
you go.
need these immigrants, or else our entire population will continue to shrink. I'm
Well,
not saying
yeah.
Trump's a Russian plant, but what would a Putin plant be doing differently?
He's done so much harm to this country, and the Somali immigrants from where is it? It's escaping me. Where JD Vance, they're eating the cats, and they're all leaving now. They're going to Canada because they've been basically chased out of their communities where they were invited in, where they revitalized the economy of. I'm trying to remember if anybody on the chat can. I think it was. You know, where were they eating the dogs and cats? It doesn't really matter, but
That was
they're
in Springfield,
oh,
Ohio, and it was all a
Springfield. That's
lie. It
it.
was
That's it.
all a
Yes,
racist
yeah,
lie,
it's a
and the
lie. Yeah.
media, the media and the Democrats have let
Yes.
J.D. Vance get away with this racist lie. Donald Trump got the White House the first time with a racist lie about the first black
Oh,
president,
I
and he got it
know.
the second time with a racist lie about innocent Haitians.
And of course the not the it was the Haitians. That's right. They're the ones being chased out. But and the lie about Mexicans being rapists. I always say if you're a true patriot, when some asshole comes down an escalator calling Mexicans rapists, and that's how they start their campaign, any patriot would recoil from that as if from a
Yeah,
hot flame because you recognize the fascism, you recognize the divisiveness that this asshole is trying to exploit.
you're
And
right.
unfortunately, this is the problem. I think that the reason we're in this boat is because we have silos of information. People who watch this show, they're not. I mean, we'll get some maggots coming in and going, and coming and going, and to call me, the R word now, which is a new one they love to
Yeah, these
give.
disgusting, I mean,
Aren't they
amoral people.
disgusting?
Because look,
Yeah.
I worked in special ed for years, and this is one of my pet peeves. These bitches
Mm-hmm.
would never use that word if they were at the Special Olympics.
Right. Uh
If
huh.
they were at the Special
That's
Olympics, they
it.
wouldn't drop that word because they know in their hearts it's a shitty,
Yes.
amoral,
They're horrible.
unmanly slur. But this is what they do. They punch down. This is what Trump does. They
Oh
punch down.
God. Yep.
Tara, I got one rule for comedy and comedy and Christianity. You don't punch
Yep.
down. You punch up at those in power. If you're being a bully, picking on those weaker than you, it doesn't work.
You
And
just look like a
Jesus' whole
horrible. Mm-hmm.
but Jesus' whole ministry was about going to the people who were shit on the most, the lepers, the prostitutes, the poorest of the poor, reaching out to the
Yeah.
despised foreigners you were allowed to hate, like the Samaritans, the pagans.
Yes.
Jesus was nice to tax collectors. He helped Roman centurions when they asked him for help.
That's right.
Whoever people hated is who Jesus went to. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and this kind of MAGA Christianity, it's about shitting on the marginalized, the migrants,
Ugh. God.
the trans children who just want to fit in the
Just want to
society,
right. Exactly.
war refugees, the poorest of the poor. That I mean, they're kicking 20 million low-income and disabled Americans off Medicaid
I
right
know.
after the midterms. That's
Isn't that
baked into
disgusting?
their. But it's what they do. They are
Right.
anti-Jesus. They always defend Caesar and they shit on the lepers. And that's it, man. You're either standing up to Caesar or you're groveling to him to get your 30 pieces of silver.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
These
And
are
mm-hmm.
this is it. And they have chosen empire. They always have. They choose power over love because Jesus' open heartedness is a
Mm.
little too much freedom. They prefer the Ten
Wow.
Commandments. You will not, you will not, you will not. But they vote for Donald Trump, who's violated all 10 of the Ten Commandments. So they
Right.
don't really take those all that seriously
Right.
either.
But don't you think this is the thing? I always say about conservatives: do they ever get tired of being played? Yeah, because that's what's happening.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Will
Look at
they ever? Right? How can we get
Tara.
them? And
We warned them for years about Bush and
yeah.
Cheney, and they hated us. We said
Mm-hmm.
the Iraq War is based on lies, and it's not. We're not going to be greeted
Yeah.
as liberators. It's not going to be. And they said we were freedom haters and terrorist lovers. And then we
Freedom
were proven
haters.
we were proven horribly right, and they hated us even more for being proven right.
Right.
And then Donald Trump comes along and says, "You guys were lied into the Iraq War.
Oh God. Yeah.
They lied that Bush is not your friend. I'm your man." Right away, right away, they dropped Bush and Cheney, and they became
Yes.
blindly obedient to Donald Trump. Now, Tara, you try to find a right winger who will defend Bush and Cheney in the Iraq War today.
Right,
Try to
right,
find a right-wing
right.
asshole who hated us and smeared us because Hannity told them to 25 years ago, 20 years ago.
Amazing.
So what does that tell you? In 20 years, these douchebags are going to deny they ever voted for Trump
No,
after
you're right.
2016.
You're right.
There
Just
is,
one
they are
day.
as
Yeah.
they are as fickle as Donald Trump is.
Yes. And I always say that one day those who supported Trump will only speak of it in shamed whispers, like the good Germans after World War II.
They
Right?
won't even speak of it like they don't speak of Bush and Cheney now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
George Bush is persona non grata at his own party's conventions for the last dozen years. Think about
Right.
that.
It's amazing. And they were, I mean,
They
in every
worshipped him.
Right.
They
Right.
traded decency for George W. Bush, and then, poof, nope. That's the kind of loyalty they talk about.
I hit the wrong button. Yeah, that's the end of the show, but I can't believe it. Well, that's the music, so I mean, I can
Thank you,
control
Tara,
it.
for
I just
having
go
me.
like that, but just lower that music. But yeah, no, thank you. Really, I mean, I could really. I have so many other questions, but I wonder. I just wondered, what do you? I get hope, and then I get hopeless, and uh, what are we gonna do? What do you think? Are
What
we
do you mean?
gonna,
What are we going to do? We're going to keep on doing what we're doing. What do you think? You think
what
it's
do we
time?
do?
You think abolitionists ended slavery in
No,
a year?
right.
I mean, come
That's
on.
what I
It's
have
like
to. Yeah.
when I hear people say, "Oh, no kings didn't accomplish anything," I'm like, "Ho, sit down."
No, that's
Civil
true.
rights
Yeah.
didn't happen just because of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, man. It's going to take thousands and thousands of people writing op-eds, writing letters to the
Yeah.
editor, arguing the morality to their family and their coworkers. It's going to take Cory Booker doing his non-filibuster filibuster. It's going to take all these corporate Democrats doing a little and all these activists doing a lot. It's going to take 1,000 different gestures to be part of a much grander movement. And we get to be alive now. We could have been alive during slavery,
true.
which would have sucked. We could have been alive during the Civil War, which would have sucked. World War
Right.
II, my God, the horrors. We're here now. We're passing the baton to the next generation,
Right.
fighting in decency and fighting for a greater America. And these people are not going to win. Bush and Cheney are persona non grata now in the cult. Donald Trump has lied so much. Again, we've gone a whole hour and haven't mentioned the one thing we should have opened with. Donald Trump has broken the law every day since December 19th to protect rapists of children.
Right.
Believe
Wow.
me, it's going to be the last scene of Scarface at the end of this for these people. And in 10 years, they'll deny they ever went for it. Please, I know it's discouraging, folks. Take a news break, but stay in the fight because you're on the side of what's right. And what do you want to do? Just get on the couch and watch Kardashians and get stoned for the rest of your life?
Yeah,
Come on.
You're right. No, you're right. I mean, we do live in interesting times, and as somebody who practices Buddhism, I say, you picked your. I don't say it, but this is what they tell you. You picked it. You picked your time. You picked your life. You picked your parents, and we're here because we have work to do, and I'm not. I mean, to see the courage of Alex Petty and Renee Good and the other people of Minneapolis who go out after the fact to know that they're putting their lives on the line, encountering ICE. They're still out there. They're still out there. No one, what would have been more chilling and would really give me less hope, it would be if the people just stayed home. All of a sudden, everything was quiet on the streets because they were afraid. But people are out there and fighting back. And we really are fighting, the domestic enemies that the founders warned us about. I'm not alone in that opinion, but we certainly have our work cut out for us.
Well, that's why I just so respect what you do, and I'm so grateful for what you
thank
do
you.
and that you have me on this show because
too.
you're so smart and you bring it home with logic all the time and warmth and
thanks.
compassion and compassion and guts is what I admire in people these days.
Right. And that's the thing, like these Republicans, it is, I don't know, one of the things we're going to have to do is get besides money out of politics, but get the re-regulation of the media, I believe, because something, we're listening and watching two different realities here, and that's by design. So, all right, yeah.
Thank you, Tara.
Yeah, this is how they divide us. All right, thank you. Let's do
You're
it
the best.
again. Oh my
Thanks
Lord.
all the listeners. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
I should whore myself. I do a show on Sirius XM every night on Sirius XM Progress 127. If you don't have Sirius, we are a free podcast every day called the John Fugelsang Podcast. My book is called Separation of Church and Hate. Oh, there's the graphic. And I've got a Substack as well. Thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you. All right.